ladies and gentlemen, members of the jury, members of the Road to Tape film crew. All I can say is this. I know how the sport of boxing is. All I can say is this. I know how the business of boxing is. And because I know how the sport of boxing is, and because I know how the business of boxing is, well, I'm not surprised, to say the least. I mean, listen, y'all. I know a lot of people were not able to tune in to the fight because they may have been busy over the weekend. Who knows? But I want to tell y'all something right now. If you did tune in to the fight, then you have to agree with one thing that I'm going to say in this video. And that is that the fight was close between Zepeda and Tevin Foreman. It was close. We all can agree to that fact. If you did not watch the fight live, I'm sure on YouTube somewhere they have the highlights. I'm sure on the Zone somewhere you can watch the full replay if you are subscribed to the Zone. But needless to say, we can agree that the fight was close. I'm going to tell you this right now. Tevin Foreman won that fight, in my estimation. And remember, when I judge fights, there's two things you have to remember. Number one, first and foremost, I am trained to judge fights. I am trained to judge bouts. Okay? Most of you know my background. That's number one. And number two, unlike other people who have these unofficial scorecards, I use the boxing criteria for judges. Okay. Now, with that being said, Tevin Foreman etched out the win. Very close fight. Very competitive fight. It was a seesaw battle, round after round, most of the time. But Tevin Foreman won this fight. And this is not the first time Tevin Foreman was robbed in a fight, in my opinion, in my estimation, to my understanding. Tevin Foreman beat Zepeda. I get it. I understand the sport of boxing. I get it. I understand the business of boxing. I get it. I'm not surprised. I mean, we all understand that if Zepeda lose to Tevin Foreman, right? I'm just saying, if he would have lost to Tevin Foreman, okay? The joy, the excitement, the anticipation of Zepeda fighting Shakur Stevenson will be significantly reduced. And then we will be talking about Tevin Foreman getting a shot at maybe a Shakur Stevenson or maybe a Tank Davis, which we know that Tank Davis and Tevin Foreman has had a long rivalry. Y'all remember that? Some of y'all might not even remember that. I'm going back some years ago. But Tevin Foreman will be in line for that big payday that he rightfully deserved. I mean, let's face it now. Granted, Zepeda got up off the canvas and he finished the fight. But did y'all see how Tevin Foreman used that boxing ability, boxing technique? Did y'all see that? When Zepeda threw that punch and Tevin Foreman did that slipping counter and hit him with that straight left. Did y'all see that? And dropped Zepeda. Knocked Zepeda right down on his back pockets. he did get up and he finished the fight. So yes, he definitely deserved credit for that. No question about that. But I just trying to figure out, how did Tevin Former get the knockdown and still do a great job according to the judging criteria in multiple rounds after the knockdown? Because I think the knockdown happened in what, round 3 or round 4? And then still lose this fight. I'm just trying to figure it out. And I'm not saying just because a boxer knock another fighter down, another boxer down, their opponent down, they automatically win the fight. We know that is far from reality, okay? What I'm saying is, he knocked Zepeda down, and he still was closing the distance on the judges' scorecards in the rounds subsequently following the round that he got the knockdown in, the round that he scored the knockdown in. He still was being competitive. I'm talking about Tevin Former. Now, did Tevin take some punches that Zepeda landed? Absolutely. This is boxing. Everybody's going to get hit. But for the most part, he stood toe-to-toe with Zepeda. And Zepeda did not, to me, he did not hurt Tevin Former to a point where Tevin Former was food for Zepeda. I mean, we are used to seeing Zepeda get these knockouts and finish his opponents off and treat them like food. We've seen this time and time again. I mean, look at his record. Yes, he's undefeated, and basically 90% of his fights have not gone to the judges' scorecards, right? But we see it time and time again, and it happened again, in my opinion. Now, of course, people might say, well, come on, Manager Marty, you being biased because you like Tevin Former. Tevin Former represents your hometown of Philadelphia. He represents the East Coast, and all those things are true. I do like Tevin Former. He's a good person in real life. Good man, actually, in real life. And yes, he is from my city. Yes, he does represent the city of Philadelphia very well, absolutely. But that's not why I'm saying what I'm saying. I keep it 100 and real, regardless of where the fighter is from, because it's not about that. But we just got to keep it all the way 100 and say the truth, and that is that Tevin Former stood up against this monstrous power of Zepeda. We have to tell the truth about that. We don't have to agree that Tevin Former won. We don't have to agree on that. But we can tell you that we can agree on this. We can tell you this part. It's important. Tevin Former did something that most fighters would be nervous to do, and that's stand directly in front of Zepeda and give him a boxing lesson. And guess what? Yeah, he won. But I'm not expecting Shakur Stevenson to stand in front of Zepeda the way Tevin Former did. I'm expecting Shakur to outbox Zepeda, use that good jab and that good defense, and being elusive, and being the southpaw that he is, that's going to give Zepeda trouble, and not let Zepeda hit Shakur as much as he did Tevin. And I think Shakur can outbox Zepeda. That's what I think. But this is not about Shakur, and I like Shakur too. But I'm just saying, let's look at the facts, y'all. I mean, Tevin Former had multiple losses on his record. He came in because a lot of people wrote him off, and we already understand the concept of A side and B side. And if you don't understand, I will teach you on another video, like I teach the audience and the fans of boxing all the time. And we'll get to that part later. But we know what it is. Remember, I told y'all a few weeks ago, and you ain't gonna find this nowhere else. That's why I'm glad y'all here. But I told y'all a few weeks ago by the phone booth that every promotion tells a story. Remember that? So what story was the promotion telling to have a guy like Tevin Former, who lost in a controversial decision in his last fight, before the Zepeda fight, come in here with multiple losses on his record against an undefeated, heavy-hitting contender like Zepeda? What story you think the promotion was telling? Okay then. And that's all I'm saying. It's a business at the end of the day. But Tevin Former etched out the win, in my opinion, and I think that he was robbed of the satisfaction of getting that win and being able to move up in the rankings and go to greater heights in his career as he's made a second resurgence in his career. I know people ask him about retiring. I still think he has a lot more in the tank, and this proved that he does have more left in the tank. No pun intended by saying the word tank. Because hey, if Tevin win another fight, especially in dramatic fashion, why not give him the opportunity to settle the score with Tank Davis? Why not? I'm just asking the question. Tevin Former is an entertainer inside the ring, outside the ring. You know he's flashy. You know he's going to come at the press conference and do his thing. And, hey, it's an East Coast war. Why not? And he has boxing ability. And he has enough heart, enough wit, and enough fortitude to keep Tank honest. That would be a really, really intriguing fight. I know most fans are not calling for that fight, but I am. Why not? I mean, we can't write Tevin Former off. We just can't write him off. He still has a lot left in the tank, and yes, he's in his 30s. We know that. But we can't write a guy off who has shown what Tevin Former has shown us on Saturday night against a guy like Zepeda. You know what? I'm doing way too much talking. Don't take my word for it. Roll the tape.